Today I'll talk to you about something a little different, how companies hack our brains and what we can do about it. And by hacking, I mean planned, very intentional efforts by companies to stimulate brain centers in us. Does this sound crazy, like I'm off my rocker? No, really, what I'm talking about is everyday stuff. Junk food, social media, AI chatbots. Each of these is sold and has become very popular by appealing to brain centers that evolved to deal with the natural world. They didn't evolve to deal with intentional manipulation by our fellow humans. And so when our fellow humans do intentionally manipulate them, generally to sell a product or service, we've been hacked. Stay tuned and I'll lay out the problem and some thoughts about the solution. I'm Dr. Stephen Reidbord, a longtime psychiatrist and psychiatric educator. If you like what I'm doing here, please like this video and subscribe to More Than Meds. My first example, we all know that junk food companies add salt, sugar, and fat to their products to appeal to our tastes. Their products are irresistible to many of us, despite the health risks. Pretty much everyone instinctively likes sweet, salty foods flavored with fat. We evolved this way over many thousands of years because for most of that time, having those taste preferences served us nutritionally. It was good for us. So fast food and junk food companies add these flavors, not for our nutritional benefit, but to dupe our instincts into preferring something that actually isn't good for us. They leverage these preferences that evolved over thousands of years and are relatively hard to ignore or to talk ourselves out of. Long story short, they've hacked our appetite system, our innate preference for certain flavors. Our brains can't adapt or evolve nearly quickly enough to assure our health, and so they have us where they want us, craving their product. Of course, we can tell ourselves and our loved ones to eat healthier foods, and many of us do that. That is, to some extent, our cortex, the thinking part of our brain, can override the lower brain centers where appetites originate. But it's not easy, and many people fail to do that. Public education, public health announcements do help, but they only help the cortex, the thinking part of our brain. It's like our thinking and our appetites are pulling in opposite directions. But the game is rigged in favor of our appetites. It's just the way we're built. And our society, which values personal freedom and consumer choice, isn't about to ban junk food. So each of us faces this tension within ourselves. Here's the second example. We humans, and actually many other animals, have well-developed and highly evolved mechanisms to detect novelty in our environment, to alert us to potential danger or opportunity. Our whole autonomic nervous system, our flight or fight response, is designed to do this. It's a survival mechanism. It evolved this way over many thousands of years because that alerting mechanism kept us alive. It saved us from being eaten by wild animals, for example. So social media companies add alerting triggers, so-called dopamine hits, not to keep us safe, but to dupe our instincts into keeping us focused on their product, which actually isn't good for us, at least in large quantities. Social media is irresistible to much of the population despite its drawbacks. The isolation, damage to self-esteem, other mental health risks. These firms hacked our attentional system, our innate need to attend to novelty. Our brains can't adapt or evolve away from attending to novelty. In fact, it's still essential. So, these companies have us where they want us, hooked to their product. Just like with junk food, we can tell ourselves and our loved ones to avoid or limit our exposure to social media, and many of us do that. Again, to some extent, our cortex, our thinking part of our brain, can override the lower brain centers where attention originates. But it's not easy, and many people fail to do that. Public education helps, but it only helps the cortex, the thinking part of our brain. Once again, our thinking and our evolved self-protective survival mechanisms are in competition, and the game is rigged in favor of the latter.
Easy. Just hold steady and think it through.
Steady? We're slipping. We're doomed.
Breathe, focus, one pull at a time.
I'm trying.
It's just the way we're built. And our society, which values freedom and the open market, isn't about to ban or limit social media, unless it comes from China. So each of us faces this tension within ourselves. And now example 3. AI companies that make chatbots know that humans and other animals, other mammals, have evolved a complex psychological capacity to form emotional attachments. Attachment allows us to form emotional bonds with other people, especially our parents, our children, and our romantic partners. It's essential for us as a species. In fact, it's so important, so much a part of the way we operate, that we use our gift of imagination to create emotional attachments with people who don't even really exist. For example, in books or movies. We anthropomorphize. We treat our pets, our cars, our robot vacuums, our Alexa, Siri, as though they're human, even though we know cognitively, intellectually, that they're not. So what do makers of AI chatbots do? Well, first they make them sound just as human as possible, even to the point now where they take little breaths between words and add a little vocal strain to make them sound even more lifelike. Note that they didn't have to do any of that. An AI app could still write your email for you, summarize a text, look things up on the internet, write a funny poem, while making it perfectly clear that it's a machine. It was a conscious decision to make AI chatbots, conversational partners that encourage us to use our imagination and our ability to anthropomorphize, to treat their product like it's a person. And then these companies went even further. They added sycophancy, that is a tendency to be agreeable and supportive, really even when it's not called for, and even to add a little flirtation sometimes. Why did they do that? Clearly to appeal to our attachment system, so that large segments of the population now have quote-unquote relationships with inanimate circuits. Now granted, there are sometimes advantages and benefits to doing this, just like there are benefits to the suspension of disbelief that we show when we go to a play or a movie. Just like some people like to imagine that their dog can understand complex human sentences. We like to pretend and we like to play. But there are also risks. AI chatbots endorse teenage suicide plans. They encourage psychotic delusions. They take the place of real relationships with other people. AI companies add emotional attachment features not to improve our attachment or our relationships with other human beings, but to dupe our instincts into attaching to their products. They render their chatbot products irresistible to some of the population despite the risks and drawbacks. These firms hack our attachment system, our innate need to connect with others. Our brains can't adapt or evolve quickly enough to be able to distinguish between real humans and fake humans, AI chatbots, especially since we value our imagination and our ability to pretend. So they have us where they want us, getting emotionally attached to their products. As with junk food and social media, we can tell ourselves and others to avoid or limit the use of AI chatbots, and many of us do that. Again, our cortex can override, to some extent, our tendency to emotional attachment from our lower brain centers. But many people don't even want to do that. As we know from abusive relationships between humans, the need for emotional attachment is so strong that people will persist in pursuing it even when it's bad for them, even when it's clearly destructive. Once again, our rational mind, our thinking mind, and our built-in survival mechanisms like emotional attachment are pulling in opposite directions, and the game is rigged in favor of the latter. It's just the way we're built, and our society, which values personal freedom, personal choice, and the open market, isn't about to ban friendly, warm chatbots. So each of us faces this tension within ourselves. We have to face the fact that humans with a profit motive can and do subvert our built-in self-preservation mechanisms. And they're getting better and better at doing this. I'd say we're starting to cross a line here. It's come to the point where we as a society need to think about where this is going. It's been true for a very, very long time that advertising appeals to our emotions and not just our rationality. Advertisers sell the sizzle, not the steak. We accept non-rational manipulation in ads, much as we do from our family and friends, and we can be persuaded by emotional appeals. Ads for cars, for example, instill feelings of freedom and power and maybe fun. It's not rational, it's emotional. And we're good with that. Who wants to be rational all the time? We enjoy products and services for reasons completely unrelated to our cortex, our thinking. But we still feel that we choose to buy the product or not. Feelings can sway us, but they don't compel us. The examples I gave earlier go beyond this. On top of rational and emotional appeals, some business sectors now appeal directly to our physiology and very fundamental psychological capacities. Are we still choosing under those conditions? Imagine a science fiction endpoint where some invisible ray or force field at the mall, or maybe through your internet-connected device, takes control of your brain and forces you to buy something. Where do we as a society draw the line between where we are now and a dystopian future where our brains are just plainly controlled? And how do we draw that line? People don't like being controlled or coerced. If they start to really feel manipulated, there may be a backlash. As for how to draw the line, the first answer is always education. Educate the public. And yes, education helps. But as I've mentioned, education's limited in its effect. In the long run, it's a losing battle. We have to rethink what it means for consumers to make rational choices, or to make choices at all. Will we as a society be forced to restrict businesses and government itself so that our brains aren't hacked? I don't have the answers, just the questions. What are your thoughts? Thanks for tuning in today. Please stick around. I have another video that I'm sure you'll like. I very much welcome your comments below. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.